Welcome to the Building Savvy Bottom Line. I'm your host, Beverly Smirnis. Our bottom line goal is to ensure that building or remodeling a home is a seamless and enjoyable process, helping builders and their customers better understand each other's challenges, expectations, and industry norms. This episode of the Building Savvy Bottom Line is brought to you by a company that's all about customer service. Hollywood Crawford's Garage Doors and Openers has been in business since 1947. Hollywood Crawford's longevity, growth, and numerous recognitions say it all about their commitment to the company core values of customer happiness and business excellence. As one of the nation's largest residential garage door companies, Hollywood Crawford's San Antonio showroom displays some 40-plus garage doors from leading manufacturers. For all of your overhead door needs, there's no more qualified expert than Hollywood Crawford. Okay, I just want to welcome Paul Evans today. We're going to talk about customer service. Paul is a pro in the home building industry. He has interesting hobbies like race car driving and things like that. But, one of the things that really, I think, has made Paul successful at everything that he does is he really understands how to get to the root of the problem, solve conflict, and leave people feeling that they have a stellar customer experience, no matter what aspect of life you're talking about. I'm sure you're probably a pretty good arguer, even about personal things, too, Paul.
Yeah, I'm a great arguer. I go, yes, Brenda, whatever you want to do. Yeah, that's how I answer that one. So on the personal level. So, well, Beverly, thank you for that and those kind words that you say. And I couldn't agree with you more on the customer experience and customer relationship side. I preach that to people around the country because to me, it's so very important. And you're right. I have been very blessed and been successful in whatever endeavor I try, but I think it is rooted in listening and taking care of the customer. A lot of you folks who are listening don't know this, but Beverly encouraged me to write a book about customer service, and I did, Life's Lost Art, which that title came from Beverly, by the way. She said, hey, this is what you ought to call this thing, Life's Lost Art. It's an art of how to listen to a customer. So sorry I rambled on, but you picked a subject that I love dearly. So
yes, and some of the chapters had to do with the best way to resolve conflict is really just to communicate. And that's where a lot of it breaks down when people have problems that escalate. And I know in the construction industry, building a house there's going to be a few problems along the way that you just have to address and talk about. So tell us a little bit about some of those experiences.
We used to have over 600 salespeople. Now we have probably a couple thousand. But when I was responsible for the sales folks, we had a little over 600. And I would tell them all, my favorite saying is pain is inevitable, misery is optional. What that means is that if you made a mistake, own up to the mistake and admit it right off the bat. And that's where the conflict usually, when a builder or a customer, you automatically say, you know what, I screwed up on this. And it could be your company screwed up, but you screwed up. Yes. A driver delivered the material to the wrong house. You can say, I screwed up, meaning that you're taking responsibility for it. And this is what I'm going to do to resolve it. Does that meet your satisfaction or your need? Right then, the builder or customer is kind of taken back by, you just took responsibility for something, and you've already taken the level of anxiety from 50,000 feet down to 5,000 feet just by making that statement. By the same token, the next time something comes up that is not your responsibility or not your fault, that person is going to then probably do the same thing with you. Hey, man, I screwed up and gave your guy the wrong address. I'm sorry, but what can we do to resolve it? And that's the way I've dealt with that for years. So take responsibility for your own actions is the biggest thing that most people don't do. And if they would do that, it would just be, don't dance around it. Hey, we screwed up. We gave you the wrong hamburger. You ordered a chicken sandwich. We gave you a hamburger. Let's fix it right now. So
one of the things that it seems like common sense, but people maybe just forget, like if you're a home builder and you have a certain process that you go through, you know what to expect. But I think a lot of times those expectations are not properly conveyed to the person whose money's on the line. They're nervous about the amount of money that anybody that's building a home is spending a substantial amount of money, especially now. I think a lot of times just addressing, hey, you know what? I want you to look at this line in the contract. I want you to understand what it means before you sign it. I think some people think, well, I hope they don't see that and we'll just kind of brush over it. And I feel like that's not the right response.
Yeah, two things there. I worked with a builder in Florida on that exact thing, working on their contract and where they should have an initial, right? I want you to read this and I want you to initial this. We worked on that and we set up expectations for the home builder or the homeowner right up front. And it was amazing. He called me back about 6 months later and he said, do you know that we have lost 2 jobs because of your talking through the contract and talking through the expectations, and we've lost 2 jobs. And I go, oh man, I'm terribly sorry. I thought we were doing, and he goes, whoa. It's a good thing because the builders who got those jobs have been fired on the jobs. We didn't get the jobs because we line itemed everything and we went through he goes, my people are going home on time. They don't have the phone calls that they get at night because the expectations were set up front. So you're exactly right. If you set those expectations, not only on the contract side, but on the build side, don't tell them it's going to take 6 weeks when it's going to take 12. Are you crazy? Tell them it's going to take 14. And then when you get it done in 12, you're the hero, right? But if you don't set that expectations, I also teach a lot of the salespeople, sometimes no is the right answer, right? No, I can't do that. However, I can do this, or there is a company out there that can do that for you, and here's their name and phone number. It's amazing the number of times I've sent somebody to a fellow competitor, and then I've gotten business back from that competitor, or I've gotten that builder back on the very next one because he said, hey, this guy was honest. He said he couldn't do it. Honesty is the best policy. I agree with that, but I think moreover, listening to the customer and getting what they need as opposed to what they want. I have more customers tell me, hey, I want this door. And I go, well, wait a second. Before you say you want that door, let's go through the situation of what you're using that door for. And then let's try to figure out the best thing, right?
It's a tricky balance sometimes. Most problems that could become major problems can be reduced to minor annoyances just by communicating upfront and then in the process as well.
Yeah, I think the NHB says it best. They said, try to make a negotiating situation a win-win. I don't believe that everything can be a win-win, but it doesn't need to be a loss-loss, if that makes sense. So
I think sometimes egos get in the way. People don't want to say, hey, I messed up. I'll take responsibility. I think you just have to put that aside.
Yeah, I always tell my sales guys too, get it over with on Friday. Don't think about it over the weekend. By God, Friday, you get it done, because it's going to be miserable and your home life is going to be terrible. My home life with my first 2 kids was terrible because I commiserated about things so much. And I got to the point where I said, look, I'm just going to take it on the chin and go. And, my sales went tremendously up. So I always taught as a sales manager to my folks that, hey, take care of your problems on Friday, be with your kids on Saturday and Sunday.
There's a lot of important life lessons that Paul teaches in talking about customer service. It could be relatable to any business or even personal aspect of your life. And I know in editing his book that he wrote, I enjoyed the stories and I was able to apply a lot of the logic myself as well. So you taught me well, Paul.
Well, I appreciate that. And some of the stories were crazy. If you remember the color of invoices, it was really interesting because I've only worked for 2 companies my entire 40 some odd years in the building industry. And really, I've only worked for one because we now own that company, the first company I worked for. So I moved companies, and the old company I worked for, their invoices were red. The logo and stuff was red on the top, and the new company was blue. And I moved companies, and this customer moved with me, and we're going along. About 6 months later, he calls me in and says, hey, man, I just got to let you know that I'm really upset with my superintendents. They've been buying from this new company, and I just found out about it. I saw them paying bills, and I saw the bills were blue, and I know your invoices are all red. And I go, whoa, Burke, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, he said, David, but I've shut them down, and we're moving back to your company, and I apologize that we got away from you. And I go, whoa, I moved companies 6 months ago. We talked about this. And he goes, you did? I said, yeah. So you've been buying from me the whole time. It's just my invoices are blue instead of red. And that was one of the stories in the book. And I get more comments about the color invoice, of that one. I've written a couple articles since then just about the color of invoices. So in other words, he didn't see any difference in the service. Only reason why he even wanted to stop was because he saw the color of the invoices,
And that's because you had given him such great service that he wanted to be loyal to you. And that's so important.
It is. I always tell everybody that you don't want a satisfied customer. You want a loyal customer. Absolutely. A satisfied customer lives in the house that you built for them. A loyal customer tells 10 of their friends about the house you built for them. And that's what you want is loyal customers. I get a lot of response when I'm giving a speech and I say, hey, you never want a satisfied customer. And I pause and they're all looking around like, what, is he crazy? And I said, you want a loyal customer. And here's why.
Paul does a lot of training. He's been the NAHB, National Association of Home Builders Speaker of the Year a couple of times, I think. He does a great job and does a lot of consulting with businesses. Sometimes when their sales are down or whatever, they need to figure out what the solution is and what they can do. So he's a great business coach as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's not that I'm a business savant. I can tell you that for sure. But I do consider myself how to handle customer situations. And to me, everything is based on that. Everything's based on people. And if we make our people happy, whether internal customer or external customer, that same customer who had a problem with invoices had no idea what he was paying for anything. He never did and didn't care. He didn't care how much it cost. He just cared that we took care of him. So.
Well, Paul, I always love talking with you about customer service. And I think the lessons that you teach are something that can be applied by anybody in any business and even in personal life. And so we appreciate what you stand for as far as that. And you're the multi-talented Paul Evans.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'm passionate about customer in general. I'm passionate about listening to the customer, whether internal or external. And, the internal customer, whether your employees or your family, please listen to them. I've been accused by someone in my life that I don't listen all the time, but I do listen to her, so thank you for that. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about a passion of that. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.